In 1913, Marcel Duchamp took a bicycle wheel and bolted it to the top of a kitchen stool. Then, in 1914, he took a production line bottle rack, signed it, and placed it on a pedestal, conferring upon it the status of sculpture.
You see, it's context. Context is everything. A bicycle wheel is a bicycle wheel is a bicycle wheel, but once you put it into a museum and exhibit it as a work of art, it becomes a work of art.
In putting these kinds of objects into a kind of a situation that's normally reserved for the high arts, or as you put it, art with a capital A, you beg terribly serious questions about why the work with the capital A is any more than a further thing that occupies that space. It levels the object so that one's no more special than the other. It's the first one that gets to the space that wins, you know.
Duchamp coined the phrase ready-made from the American innovation of factory-produced or ready-made clothing, which had just been introduced as a cheap alternative to tailor-made clothing.
These are works of art which are untouched. They weren't created by the hand of the artist. They, in particular, have no aesthetic interest, so nothing to please the eye. And those are two ideas traditionally connected with the idea of the artist. The idea of the artist has got this magic touch, and he's got this great eye, and he puts together these objects through his manual skill for the gratification of the retina, as Duchamp would say. He saw all that as shit, all that as blag.
The point which I want very much to establish is that the choice of these ready-mades was never dictated by any aesthetic delectation. This choice was based on a reaction of visual indifference with, at the same time, a total absence of good or bad taste. In fact, a complete anesthesia.
Duchamp said that the ready-mades were selected with aesthetic indifference. It's a wonderful phrase to use because how can you be totally indifferent to something? He meant at first, for example, the shovel. It had to be something that when you walked into the hardware store, it couldn't be attractive for its design, nor could it be really ugly for its design. It had to be somewhere in between. And the reason for this, and that again yet is another mark of Duchamp's genius, is because if he took something that had aesthetic pleasure to it, he would be just performing the same kind of ridiculous operation that we do. Like when we go on the beach and see a log that's beautifully washed by the sea and we love the curves of it, we pick it up, dry it out, put it on the mantelpiece. Gertrude Stein did that. And if you do that, you are admiring something for its aesthetic qualities, just as you look at a painting and admire it for its aesthetic qualities. Duchamp wanted to give you something that didn't have any reason to be admired aesthetically or hated, because hatred is the same as loving, if you think of it, on the opposite end of the scale.